I don't know. I should be able to see you, huh? Oh, there it is. I can see you now. Can you see me? One off. Okay, I'm gonna let you go. I will. All right. Can you hear me, Lynn?
Yeah, I can hear you, Dad.
Can you see me?
No.
Uh-oh, it all went off now.
Lynn, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Not work.
Well, Lynn, I don't know how to turn myself on. I can see y'all, but I can't. I don't know. I guess I'm on there.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Well, that's good. You don't need to see me anyway, then. So Lynn's down in Houston, and I'm trying to do this from here, and it isn't working too good so far.
Well, I didn't realize I wouldn't be able to host the meeting with my computer from down here, so yeah. Can you do the screen share stuff then?
See the button for it down there.
Okay, well, all you do is press the button and then it asks you which screen you want to share. You just choose the screen.
Well, maybe we won't have to.
We see where the brains of that outfit is.
I know that's right. This is terrible.
I can tell you I'm no help, so.
How's the weather up there, David? Is it getting any better?
Oh yeah, sun was shining. It was pretty today. Then you walk outside and it's like 25 degrees and a 40-mile-an-hour wind. So
Oh, man.
Not okay.
it looked really pretty from the window, but don't open the door. But it's pretty nice. It's supposed to rain the next 3 or 4 days, which we are dry up here. So
We're pretty dry here. We did get 3/4 of an inch, but the wind was blowing pretty hard the next day, or next 2 or 3 days, dried it out. Pretty
yeah.
good. But it helps.
Oh yeah, every little bit helps. But boy, they're expecting a drought up here this year. So we didn't hardly get any snow. Last year we got over 100 inches, and I bet we didn't get 20 inches this year total.
100 inches of snow? That's crazy. We got 8 inches here to shut Texas down.
Well, Bridger the mountains up here usually get probably 140 to 160, but it's a snow, we call a ski resort. So, and we don't normally get that much, but last year we got over 100 inches and it was miserable. I mean, it was just really miserable trying to get calves through. You had to plow trails to the water tanks and they couldn't walk through it, especially calving. They couldn't get the calf to even go with them. So it was pretty nasty. So it's either a lot of moisture or drought. So.
Hey, I can see you, Dad.
There he is.
I found a button. I don't know what happened, but it changed anyway. Well, David, I guess we could get started. Yearling one want to start us off.
Well, y'all had your stuff. I was putting my stuff together at the last minute, of course. And right when I was trying to send it to you through the email, I got an email from you with all the stuff already printed out. I was like, well, they got their stuff together a lot earlier than I got mine. But my stuff is just, like I said, they can read it later on, I guess, and just, back up. Just maybe have something extra. It's probably the same, almost the same exact information.
Just make sure you send it to the email, David. I'll get it out to everybody whenever I send out the email.
Well, I did send it, but it said Larry at Profit Panel, so I don't know if that's the one you get or not. Did you not get it?
I don't have the ability to check it, honestly, because I don't have it on my phone. So
I can look. Well, I don't know if I can look or not.
it's okay. I can look at it tomorrow. I should have internet access back again tomorrow. So
I finally got some the yearling bulls ultrasound stuff, just so we could say that this is some of the information you can look at. When picking a bull, if you have ultrasound information, this is what it means. And then I sent a sheet just like your it's just our buyer's guide, what we put out a couple of years ago for things to ask questions about, sire dam, any other data that you have, asking for that just to get all the information you can possibly get about a bull before you buy it.
well, Darren, you can go ahead and start, because I don't have the notes or anything.
Well, I have notes here. Let's see. I'm glad you put them on my desk for me before you left.
Thinking ahead. All right.
So the topic's how to evaluate herd sire prospects. That's what we'll be doing today. On conformation, size, structure, carriage, muscle structure, scrotal circumference. David, you want to talk about that? Like size, structure, carriage, how they walk, size of their feet, things like that.
Sure.
We all know they won't, need really good muscle structure, but wish I could put a picture up there of one. If I could figure out how to do that, Lynn.
Well, this might be a pencil and a stick drawings tonight. But main thing when you go look at bulls, bulls, looking at horses, if you got goats, anything, you want one that looks good to your eye. That's the main thing. If you're a world-renowned goat breeder and you get into the cows and then all of a sudden you say, well, I don't know what to look for. Well, you kind of do. And we have people tell us that all the time, somebody that raises, championship horses and this and that. And they say, well, I don't know nothing about a cow. And we look at an animal and say, would you buy that if it was a horse? Well, absolutely not. Well, then don't buy it because it's a bull either. If it can't walk, if it's got structural problems, or it's underweight, undernourished, or overnourished for that matter, fat and hadn't been doing anything. Those are all things you need. Your first instinct when you see something like, wow, that's a good looking animal, or I don't know if I want that one or not. Trust your gut on a lot of that stuff. But then you can go, deeper into it. But when you're looking at structure, bull's got to look like a bull. His head should look like a bull. It should have masculinity around his head. His brow should be pretty big, slight hump. That's all an indication of testosterone and libido, libido is what gives the bull the why he goes out and chases cows. I mean, that's his drive right there. If he's got a little girly looking head and narrow neck, looks like a steer, he's going to act like a steer. He's going to want to go lay around with them, but he's not going to want to go out and hustle and breed the cows. So the first thing, if you're going to look for a bull, make sure it looks like a bull. And, he should have a bigger head, not out of proportion, but, a bull should look like a bull. And then the other main important thing is he's got to travel and cover cows. So you want to make sure he can walk, move around, pretty agile, not stiff in his joints, got a lot of flex to his pasterns. If you got them in a 2-acre pasture and you never move them, maybe that's not important. But out here and in Texas too, I mean, these bulls got to get out and cover some ground. And I posted something on Facebook the other day. Some people might have seen it. I don't know. We run our bulls. We have corrals and everything down there, but it's not very nice, and the vet doesn't really like it. So we have our yearly running of the bulls, and we turn 60 bulls out and run them 1.5 miles to our other working facilities. It's heated. It's got a silencer chute. I mean, it's really nice, and they can really, she can set up all her equipment and stuff inside where it's warm. So the vet likes that. So we do that for her. But those bulls, I mean, they run 1.5 miles. And if they can't move and get around, they can't go. So that's a good indication right there for us. If he's stiff jointed or whatever, he's going to be at the back of the pack. Same thing when we turn them out. We have one field that's 860 something acres, I think, without a cross fence. And it's pretty rough up and down hills. And those bulls have got to get out and move and, cover some territory. It's 1/2 mile in any direction just to get to water. So if they get water in the morning, they had a water tank and they graze out, they got to go at least 1/2 mile before they can get to another water source. Or if they get halfway, then they got to go back. And if there's cows in heat, there might be 2 cows, 3 cows in heat at the same time, and they're never going to stand together. So one may be on one side of the field, one may be on the other side. So those bulls need to get out and move. So feet and legs, bone structure, look like a bull. And then when you get to the business end of the bull, his testicles should, have some size to them. And as they say, size does matter on bulls and scrotals, because the size of that bull's testicles is a direct indication of how many cows he can breed, how much semen he can produce. And it's also a direct correlation to all of his heifers, the size of their ovaries. So if you have a bull with smaller testicles, his daughters are going to have smaller ovaries, which are going to breed slower, maybe not conceive as good, won't have as fertile of eggs. So all that is very important. One thing influences another. It's not just, okay, well, it's a bull, so he's going to be able to breed cows. All those things really matter. And one of the things I sent today was the cutoff mark for BSC for a bull soundness evaluation or breeding soundness evaluation. The bulls at a year old should be 30 centimeters. They measure it in centimeters. So 30 at a year old, and it should be 33 by a 2-year-old. And that's the minimum requirement. So just because it's 30 may not mean it's the best one in the world, because that's the minimum to pass. But you don't want to turn an average bull out and get him to, covering cows, because he's going to have average calves. So you want to make sure, 30, 32, 34. We had the bulls on this one, on our bull test we just did. We had some that was 30, 32. We also had one that was 38 at a year old. And that bull at 38, he automatically is going to be able to breed more cows and cover more cows and be fertile than the bull with 30. So the more fertile the bull is, the bigger the testicles are going to be. You can't get them too big. And if you get over 40, 45, somewhere around in there, it starts getting too big. They get damaged when the bull walks, you know, banging against his legs, always bruising them, or you don't want to get them too big. And I have seen 1 or 2 bulls have that problem, but then you have a suspensory problem too, where they can't pull them up and down. A bull already, a bull will regulate his temperature or regulate his testicle height by the temperature. When it's cold, they pull them up. When it's hot, they let them out to keep them cool, because the testicles are usually 2 to 3 degrees cooler than the body temperature. So if you're in the hot summer in Texas and it's hot outside and he's walking around, those testicles are going to be fully distended to try to keep them cool, to let airflow get around them to cool them down. If it don't, it'll kill the semen. If it gets over 104 degrees, it starts, you know, your motility and your semen quality is going to go down because of heat stress. Same with cold stress. If it gets, you know, 30 below zero and you're trying to breed a cow, it's going to be hard to keep those testicles right at 98 to 99 degrees and 40 below zero. So the ability to be able to pull those testicles up and down is really important for the bull. And the testicles should be symmetrical. One shouldn't be bigger than the other one. They should be the same size, the same height. If one's high and one's low, we had a couple bulls, and it kind of comes down to certain bulls through that. And that's really bad, because one testicle is at the right temperature and the other one's either hot or cold. So that automatically took 50% of your semen quality right there, because one testicle was too cold and kept, that semen died in that.
I can hear.
In that one. So you only had half the semen amount.
Oh, I'm good.
So if you can have the, like I said, the testicles should be the same size, the same height, not one up and down, and they do not need to be twisted. All those things are hereditary traits that they will pass to their bull calf. So if you're trying to save bulls and use them later on, if the sire has a testicles that are not symmetrical, the calves are going to have the same thing. So you want to make sure that your bull has all the good traits, because he's fixing to throw that to every calf in your herd. When we were doing bull tests, when I first started out back in the late 80s, that's what we always said. Your bulls were half your herd. If you had one great cow, she was normally going to have one good calf a year. But a one good bull, if you bred him to 30 cows, he's going to have half the influence on 30 calves. So if the bull has good traits, he's going to throw them. If he has bad traits, he's going to throw them as well. So you want to make sure that, all those traits are good traits that he's going to pass to the calves. So what I miss, Larry?
Well, when we're talking about the business end of a bull too, we actually just had this happen with one of our relatives and their herd. You want to look for a bull that has a good clean underline too, where his penis is, flush up against his belly if possible, and make sure that too, that if you see him a lot of the time with his, where it looks like his penis is hanging out of his sheath, that's called a lazy prepuce. And these bulls are much more likely to damage either their sheath or their penis. And a lot of the time that can result in a very serious infection or a broken penis. And you end up with a high value bull that no longer has any value for you, because he's no longer going to either be able to breed cows or be fertile. So that's another thing that you want to look out for too, is to make sure that his actual, like the sheath structure, and that make sure he's not lazy with hanging his penis out of his sheath. Make sure all of that's in good working order too, because otherwise you're going to end up with infertility problems with your bull as well.
And we had one that he passed the semen check, but he had an abscess on his prepuce is what it was. But it was because it was, like you said, he would keep it out, and then
Mhm.
You get a piece of trash or dirt in it, and then he pulls it
Yeah.
back in, and then it makes an abscess. And up here, they better have a clean sheet, because a lot of these native pastures have sagebrush in it, and they got little thorns on it, little sticky thorns. And if they get it hanging out, it will catch it and infect it. And then, like you said, he'll be a great
Yeah.
bull, but his penis is, he's too sore to breed a cow, and he'll just lay over there and won't do anything. And then your cows come up open.
Yep,
So that's
exactly.
really important. And that the sheath part, you know, in the Brahma type cattle, that's really important. If you get the direction of the sheath, make sure it's in the right order. You know, some of them's gonna have a sheath just because of the breed, but it still can be tighter. And if it's the angle's better, you know, more of a I guess would be more like a 45-degree angle rather than a 90. If it's
Yeah,
pointing
right
down,
straight down.
yeah, then they won't have trouble, and that sheath to get in the way and start making where they have trouble breeding a cow.
Yeah,
So
we have, I mean, as most of y'all know, you know, the majority of our commercial cattle are have a little bit of Brahmin influence to them. And we have actually taken really great bull calves that we thought were amazing, but they had too much sheath, so they didn't stay a bull. Just because of that reason, because, you know, we don't necessarily expect them to be as tight as like the full-blood Aberdeens, but we want them to not have any doubt in the fact that they can breed cows.
Yeah, the veterinary offices, veterinary offices and sale barns are full of bulls that stepped on it or got it infected or something right now. I watched a bunch come through sale barn today that were like that.
mhm.
A lot of times when a bull's fed too hard or they're too fat or they haven't been out where they're grazing and stuff, they're just lazy. And they get that. And then sometimes when you bring some weight off of them and make them exercise, get them out where they have to graze, they got to fight for something to eat, then they get to where they're not quite so lazy, and sometimes that they'll quit doing stuff. So David, let's talk a minute about like cow families that we've, only thing I can do is talk about ones that we've used that just like you, that have worked real good for us on our places. And believe me, there's plenty that haven't. I'm not going to mention all of them that didn't, but there are some that's really worked real well. And when you've been doing it long as David and I have, and Lynn, you develop these what we call cow families, where it starts getting really real predictable, and you keep using the same genetics over and over because it just always works for you. Most of the time you expect a good result. One of ours is Fairlawn Rebel, the bull. I don't know, he might have been like a grand champion years ago. I don't know, in shows and stuff. But anyway, we bought a bull. His name was Megamark. And we used him around here for about 10 years. And I don't know how many offspring we have of that bull, of full bloods and percentage cattle. We just got a lot. And we don't register everything, so it don't show a whole lot on there, but we've got a bunch of his offspring here, and we just keep using them. He's dead now, but he just did us a real good job. There's a couple others that we started with that worked real good with Sherman, with the bull back from years and years ago, but his genetics work real good for us. And we just keep using them.
And feel energetic. Unfortunately, around the age of 20, your body starts producing less cholesterol. And by the time you're in your 40s and 50s, it's much harder.
Is there any way, I don't know that the sound is coming through on, but they may have to mute their computer to.
There it is. I got it.
We want you to be able to talk and ask questions, but you may have to mute it just so you don't get the background noise, because it's only one microphone at a time. So if yours is picking up the dog barking, the speaker's not going to be able to talk. So Go ahead, Larry.
Well, that's the first two that I wanted to mention. And what happens with the cow families is you start getting, daughters and granddaughters and great granddaughters, and you just keep going and you keep improving until you get to a point where you just know what the cattle are going to do in those certain cow families. And we've got some that I can't tell you the numbers really, but like a cow that was here for like 19 years, and she had probably 90% daughters. Her daughters had 90% daughters. I mean, it was one of those deals where it just over the years, it's just hundreds of daughters that came out of this one cow. And we did sell a lot of them, but we kept a lot of them too. We still have them here.
Are you talking about Angel's line?
I am. Uh-huh.
So I don't know exactly how many offspring we have, because we probably kept 8 of her daughters and then 1 of her sons. So we kept a lot of her offspring because she was one of our foundation cows. And I believe we have great grandchildren on the ranch being born this year. So her line has just really, it's reliable and it sticks around, and they always perform well. And they've only improved over time too because of our bull selection. So, if you, one good cow, one good bull can really have a long lasting effect on your program. So whenever you're choosing animals to bring into your program, make sure you're being choosy, because they're going to have an impact.
So one thing I want to say right quick about choosing a bull or choosing a cow, but we're talking about bulls right now. I don't know what it is, but we all know, people know when it's the right one. Like when I bring people, or when people come here to buy cattle and I take them out to look at the cows, they're going to pick out the very best cow. They don't know anything about cows, but they're going to pick the very best one. They know which one's the best, and they can verbalize it, but it's the best to me and to them because of the balance of the animal and the eye appeal of the animals. So everybody knows when you're picking a bull, pick a very masculine looking bull. He should stand out from everything else. And you need to ask a lot of questions about the cow families. That's the reason I brought up cow families is ask questions about the cow families. If they don't have cow families, then that bull's really not proven. When we develop a bull here, we don't develop a lot of bulls because we're just too picky. It's hard to, sometimes it gets harder and harder to develop one that's better than the ones that you already have. And we're not going to do it unless he's better or looks better or seems to be better. And then it takes a long time. So we may develop a bull out till he's 18 months old and use him, but we really don't know how good that bull is or how everything's going to go till he's about 5 or 6 years old. We need to evaluate, to have a lot of calves grown, and his daughters need to have calves and everything else before we decide if the bull's good enough. Really, there's a lot of times we made mistakes and go back and sell all them. It's tons of cattle where you're like, man, that was a huge mistake. And so you just sell them all and go back to what you were doing, or, that's why we hate to bring in new stuff. You just don't know what it's going to do unless you know it's proven. Don't do it.
Yeah, and that's the way we are too. We're really picky about what we take in, and because we know what our herd will do. And just because somebody said, hey, look at my great bull, he won a ribbon, that don't mean nothing to us. And it's got to be proven before we even try it. And we might try it on 1 or 2, but AI or something just to see what it does before, do a test project before we ever do anything else with it. And like you said, the cow families, just like in people, behind every good man, there's a good woman. And usually it's his mother. And those good mothers, the best cows we got, they always produce the best bulls. And you can go out and look at any year group that we have, and you pick out the best bull, and it's out of one of those donor dams or whatever that we had. And that's what we try to do with ours. I mean, we developed a lot of bulls. I got 60 in the pen. That's what we tested the other day, with 60 bulls in one day. But we bred one cow, we'd flush it to every bull that we had. So that one female may have been bred to 5 different bulls. So we got 5 different herd sires out of one cow. And a lot of times we won't go double up on a bull. Like if we have a bunch of daughters out of this one bull, we won't breed them back to that bull. But a lot of times we'll close up on our cow families. We'll double up, have the cow on both sides of a pedigree just to get that influence back in it. So a lot of times people think line breeding using the bull, but when we line breed, we use the cows to develop those good bulls. And we have several. One of them is a Union Pacific daughter, which that's an old bloodline, and it come out of Herman, which Herman has a lot of good bulls out of him as well. So that bloodline is really good. And one of our top donors was out of that. We'd flush that cow. If we gave her just a little bit more than average, if we tried to up their dosage on the to flush them, she'd have like 36 embryos come out. And you get some cows that you can't get 4 or 5 out of. But you give them the same dose as another cow, and she would have 30 and the other cow would have 4. But that cow was just so fertile. If you gave her any stimulant whatsoever, I mean, she would just bump them out. I bet I got close to 100 embryos out of that one cow. And we flushed her.
That's impressive. 13. I think our max was like 17. We were really
she
super
did 30 something at one time. I mean, it was crazy. And but we kept her till she was 13. We said, we're gonna flush her one more time before she was getting old. We just trying to get some more out of her, and flushed her, and she had 0. I said, well, I guess she's dry, because we done took every one she possibly could have out of her. But what a good cow. And when she had her natural calf at 12, it was the highest weaning calf we had, and it was the youngest calf, and ended up being the heaviest weaning calf out of a 13-year-old cow. So the good ones are just going to do it. And if you find something that works, that's a good way to just keep doing it, because if it worked one time, 9 times out of 10, it's going to work again.
So we have a calf out here right now. We got a lot of them, but one in particular that I'm thinking about, because I used to say that the calves all look the same. Well, now when I see a calf that stands out, you just almost know, well, that one there was going to be that one there we're going to develop for herd sire. We don't know if he's going to make it yet or not, but when you see them born, or when you see them 2 or 3 days old, you can pretty well pick them out. That's how they should stand out from everything else.
Absolutely.
Males will too, but the bulls, especially, if you're going to be trying to pick a bull from your herd, if you think it might, or you think it might not, just don't do it, because it's probably not going to. But you can tell when they're just a few days old, you can tell the ones that really stand out from the other ones. We have one out here that was that the mother of the cow that had it, or the grandmother, was one of our foundation cows. I think the grandmother is one of our foundation cows. So this is her second calf, but we hardly ever even think about doing it with the first calf, raising a bull out of them. This is her second calf, and we bred her to her, so it'd be her great grandfather, or on the male, on the bull side, on that side, and it's almost looks just like the bull that we're trying to get. So I mean, it was planned to make it come out that way. So when you do her pedigree, her grandsire will be on one side 3 times that you can see.
No. Wow.
But
And that, a lot of people would say that's wrong to do that, but that's how
No,
you
I want you to,
make good
I
with
want you to
sometimes.
have him complain and bring it back to her and tell her she has to.
And those, I mean, those kind of matings are the ones that when you do this all the time, that's what you look for. I mean, we go through and say, boy, I can't wait. Even when that calf is born, that's the first thing we start thinking is who we going to breed that cow to when she gets old enough to breed to, continue that line on. Like, boy, if we breed her to this bull, it's really going to pop. And that's what you're looking for. And we got 40 different bulls collected here. Not all of them are full blood, but most of them are. And we call it our toolbox. And if we got a cow line or something, we got some cows that look like they need some extra length to it, we know which bull to pull out of the tank and breed them to. If they're a little bit short and we might want to breed them to a taller bull, then we know which bull to go to. The same with one that's getting a little leggy. They start to look, they kind of looking like an Angus. Get high in the flank or something. And we don't want to get too big. So we got bulls that are shorter, but still thick and, muscular. So we use those bulls to moderate the size down. So a lot of people always think we try to get big, but we do sell them by the pound. But when they get too big, the first thing we'll do is breed them to like quartermaster or son of him or something like that to get those cattle back down to where they need to be without sacrificing muscle. I put an ad on the other day about, having bulls, and I don't know the guy, but he asked, did he have one that was 30? He was looking for one around 36 inches tall. And I answered it, and then I got to thinking, I was like, dang, that's a yardstick. I don't know what he's going to do with a 36-inch bull, but why would you want one that size? So anyhow, so be careful what you wish for. I got short bulls, but a lot of people have short bulls, but I got short bulls as wide as they are tall. And that's probably what you ought to look for. If you're looking for a shorter one, at least get ones with some length, because anybody can raise an inferior bull and make him short because they didn't feed him right or something like that. So you always got to be careful what you wish for and make sure it's a planned mating, not just, well, I got this bull standing here, so I'm going to breed the cows. Well, if you do that, you wasted a year. And then also, it might be 3 years, especially if it's 4 years. If that's a cow going into your herd replacement, she has a heifer, then you're stuck with that cow. Or you got to sell it at a loss and try to do it again, and that's expensive. So always be a planned mating. So where you're always, trying to improve your herd. Don't just status quo, breed average to average. You're going to get an average calf. And I don't know if anybody wants to be average. I don't.
Hey, Lynn,
Does anybody have any questions so far?
What, Dad?
You want to add some stuff to that? We're about to go to birth weight, weaning weight, yearling weight. I'm gonna get David to talk about all that stuff, the EPDs, genomic testing, feed test data. Maybe David can talk. He can talk about most of that.
Yeah, I don't have anything. I don't have anything to add to what David was saying. I think he's right on with it. Even when you're, yes, be careful what you wish for with a bull. I don't necessarily think the super short ones are any less quality bulls. You can get them too short. Let me say that, where they stop being able to travel. We've had a couple of pretty short bulls before, that they worked just fine, but they were also really long, had really good structure underneath of them too. So just because he's short, don't go sacrificing on his leg structure. He needs that in order to perform. The same thing goes when you're looking for taller bulls. We have a tendency to prefer the little bit taller ones with our full bloods, just because we need them to be able to breed some big cows, and we need them to be able to cover a lot of ground and a lot of cows. It's just, it's not so much a preference of ours as a need. So, you know, but the first thing we always look for in a bull is leg structure, and then muscle structure, especially up over the top of the hip. That's where all of his power comes from whenever he's mounting a cow. You want him to be able to go ahead and get a good jump so that he can get his job done. Also, another thing that we've run across several times before, especially within the full bloods, we're seeing it less and less now, but is you get these full blood bulls that look like an armadillo walking across the pasture, where they have their head down, you know, back scrunched up while they walk. And Dad and I were talking about that the other day. We're seeing it less, but some of the older lines, you still see some of that coming out. And while it's not necessarily, you know, a structural defect, it doesn't make your bulls perform any better. It doesn't really look good. You know, your bulls need to have a more upright carriage than that. And honestly, the two bulls that we had in the past that were like that were a little bit lazy. So, and I don't know if it's because they just were sore or couldn't move as well, but you know, their carriage can also be an expression of their testosterone levels as well. You know, whether they have that head up, sniffing around, looking for cows, moving around all the time whenever they're supposed to be out there doing their job.
And that's mainly they walk that way because it's more comfortable to them, because especially in a horse, if anybody's bought horses, and if you ever look for horses, you know what to look for in cows. You got to have those angles right, all the way coming from the top of his hip down to his knee, back to his pasterns. I mean, all those angles are important, and you get one out of kilter, it'll make that bull walk funny or carry funny. And like you said, some of them will carry the head way low because they've squunching their back up to make up for a structural problem. It's more comfortable to walk that way, but it doesn't, like you said, it doesn't look good. If he can walk with his head up and, you know, cover some ground like you're talking, I mean, all his lines are correct, and he can move without having to, you know, when I get up, I walk a little funny. I might lean a little bit to one side because one leg hurts. And that's what the bull's doing. He's compensating for something that's going on in his structure that's not correct. So he's trying to compensate for it so it doesn't hurt him when he walks.
Yeah. Well, and a structurally correct bull is going to last you a lot longer. He's going to be less prone to injury, and he's not going to have as many aches and pains as he ages. And even those little aches and pains will reduce the fertility of your bulls. If your bull is uncomfortable, then his fertility is going to go down. So, like, for example, and this is kind of a little bit off topic example because we're very careful about the structure of our bulls now, but last year we got an amazing bull in that we purchased. We knew his lines, we'd seen his calves, like everything. He's an older bull. And we have lots of mesquite, and he had never been on mesquite pasture before. First thing he did 2 weeks after going in was get a thorn in between his two toes and his front foot and got, you know, an infection. So we caught it, we brought him in, we doctored him. But at that point, since he's been so uncomfortable for a couple of weeks and he's still sore, he's had antibiotics, all of that stuff, he's not going to be nearly as fertile as what we need him to be. So we didn't put him back out on cows. So, you know, like I said, if you have a bull that is uncomfortable or prone to injury or something like that, he's not going to be performing for you as well. So that structure is important. And foot structure, you know, how hard their feet are, you know, all of that can really contribute to his overall longevity as a bull.
And we didn't mention that either, but say your bull gets a injury or gets sick, has a fever, it will make them sterile. And if it sterilizes that bull or temporarily sterilizing him, it takes 45 days from the day he starts making semen to the day he's fertile enough to breed a cow.
Yep.
So if he has a high fever or something like that, that bull's going to be infertile for 45 days if you got him still out there on your cows. So if you only got one bull and that's what's happened, then he's not going to be able to service those cows. So it's really good to know that. And like I said, it's good to know the structure and the anatomy of a testicle, to know how it works. And I used to be able to name all the parts and components because I had to teach the class, which showed, all the different parts of the testicle, how the semen goes through and where it's formed and all that. But it takes 45 days from start to finish. So the semen he makes today, when he starts making it, it's 45 days till it's ready to hit a cow. So that bull's got to be steady producing it all along, or you're going to run out and you're going to have some open cows. And that's really, really expensive. You think a bull is expensive when you pay $3,000 to $4,000 or $5,000 for a bull, but you get a couple open cows and you can hit that pretty quick.
We had a veterinarian give a bull. He broke his jaw in the pens up here, just cracked it. Wasn't a big deal. And but you could see a tooth out of place and stuff. They gave him steroids. He ruined it. That's it. He never produced another drop of semen that was any good. A good bull. I mean, you spend all that money raising them and getting them where you want them to be, and a veterinarian does that to you because they don't know. A lot of them don't know that stuff. You don't give a bull steroids unless you're done with him.
He's wanting to make him walk and be comfortable, but I don't care if he's comfortable. He can't breed a cow. He ain't gonna stay here and be comfortable. He's got a job to do. So
Barb asked a question: how do you line breed using a cow?
You want to take that one, or
Go ahead, David.
Well, it's line breeding, but you're using the cow side of the pedigree is what we're talking about. If that cow is the mother of the bull and a mother of a cow, a mother of the female, you got a different bull on each side, but the mother is the one you're stacking. So everything we do, we always try to put a good cow behind it. And if we got a really good bull and we want to raise another good bull, we find another great female to put in there, to breed to that mate. So, and sometimes it's the same cow. We've done that a couple of times and really had good success. And like I said, I'd rather do it from the cow side of the family rather than the bull side of the family. Because, the difference between line breeding and inbreeding is whether it works or not. If you breed something that's really close together and it comes out looking like $1 million, that's called line breeding. If you did the same exact mating and you get a little dinky calf, that's called inbreeding. It only matters if it works or not. So we do that a lot on those cow families just because, like I said, the cow is the most important thing. The bull's got a job to do, but the cow is the most important part of the bull. His mother is we won't keep a bull out of a cow that is not a great cow. We just won't do it.
Almost always the most feminine cows make the most masculine bulls. Almost always works that way.
I don't know why that is, but that is exactly right. The most feminine cow is going to throw the most massive bull.
Yeah. So David, here's another one for you. How to develop a herd sire. You do it all the time.
Long, painful process. Like I said, first thing is make sure he looks like what Larry's talking about. When he's a day old, that ought to be when you pick your bulls. Like, boy, that's going to make a great bull. And so if he doesn't have that look to start with, you might want to keep walking or cut him or something, because if he don't look like a bull now, he's not going to look like one later either. So we do that, and then we develop them slower than normal. A lot of people want to put feed to them, and a lot of people show them, and that's all right too. But when they feed those bulls that hard, they can get foot problems from eating too much grain or be on too soft a ground if you got them up all the time. And then also, we talked about it the other day about getting too much fat around their testicles. If they start putting on too much fat, they'll start storing that fat just like a steer would. A steer puts his fat in a cod sack. It's the same with a bull. He just got testicles in there too. And the more fat that's in that testicle, the less fertile that bull's going to be. So we try to develop our bulls slower, and you might not get the most profound yearling weights, but that bull's going to last longer too. If you grow them slow, they're going to last longer. If you grow them fast, they're going to be fast out of your herd too, because they're either going to have some foot problems, they're going to have, fertility problems, something like that. So when we develop our bulls, we try to, the last couple of years, we've come up with this, it's Power Booster or Bull Power Booster something. It's a 2-pound pellet. So that's the only grain those cattle get is 2 pounds. And it doesn't have any corn in it there. It's got some wheat nids and some other stuff that would consider it a grain, but it's really not any grain to it. But it's got minerals, nutrients, all the ingredients to help testicular development. That's hard to say. And other things, but we give them that 2 pounds of pellet. It takes them 5 minutes of the day to eat it. And then the rest of the time, they're on a good quality hay. And we mix it, 2 or 3 different types of hay. We got a first cutting hay, second cutting alfalfa, and then our silage or baleage. And we mix that together to give them a balanced diet, but then they only get 2 pounds of that pellet a day, and they gain right at 2 pounds a day. So the bulls that I had on the bull test, they was averaging around 450 to 500 pounds at just after weaning. And then we put 2 pounds a day on them for 120 days. So they was able to gain 240 pounds over that length of time. So, I mean, they're getting some pretty good weights. The full bloods are right at 750. The moderators were 860 to, I think 920 was the highest one. So it's not really big numbers, but if you develop those bulls slow, they'll make a better herd sire because they're going to last longer because they've had time for their joints to grow, along with their body and the muscle, the bones. All that has to grow at the same speed. If you're pouring the feed to them, they're going to grow some more muscle faster, but those bones and cartilage and ligaments are not growing as fast as the muscle is. So I've seen bulls that got crippled because their muscles were growing so fast and the muscles were strong, it bowed their legs because their bones were still, growing, but the muscles were so big, it was pulling on those bones and made them grow crooked. So my suggestion is grow them slower, make them last longer. And don't apologize for their weights either. I mean, well, if they're bad, you should apologize for them. But, we didn't talk a whole lot of what they should weigh. And bulls and heifers, I mean, there should be there's a range. But I can tell you, a 900-pound 3-year-old bull is not a good bull. If he can't get any bigger than that in 3 years, 2 to 3 years, then he's got a problem with, having the performance to go behind that bull. So it's not important to be the biggest one, but he better not be the smallest one because he's inferior. And the way we make our herd, our pen of bulls look better, the best way to improve the looks of a group of bulls is to cut the bottom ones out of it. As soon as you take 1 or 2 of the bottom end bulls out of your pen, you go to looking at them like, wow, these bulls look great. They're the same bulls you had before, but your eye kept going to that bad one. So, we had 10 or 12 bulls on the bull test. We took 3 out of the bull test. All of a sudden, these bulls look great. And it's just taking the bottom end off. They shouldn't be a bull anyhow.
Well, David, the next thing on the list is when can you start using a bull? When can he be exposed to cows? And then, how many cows can a bull breed at what age?
we've done this over a long period of time. We did it with the university that I worked for too. We developed, kind of a criteria for it. But what we always say is a bull can breed as many cows as he is months old. That's kind of bad grammar, but if he's 12 months old, he ought to be able to breed 12 cows and cover them in a calving season or breeding season pretty easy. And same thing, a 24-month-old bull ought to be able to cover 24 cows. And you can do that up to about a 3-year-old, and that's about the maximum amount you should put with them. You shouldn't have over 30 cows per bull, and in a group. Now, if you have 2 bulls, okay, now that's 60 cows. But if you have a 1 herd sire per group of cows, about 30 cows for a mature bull is about all he can cover. He can cover them, but it may take him longer. He may only breed, some of them that first cycle, and then he will have to catch the rest of them on the second cycle, and then he might have to catch some on the third cycle. Well, then that's stretches your calving season out, and they're not as uniform as they should be because some of them are 40 to 50 days older than the other ones. Our main goal is to get them bred as fast as we can, because the trick question one of the animal scientists always asked all the cattlemen's meeting is, what's the one thing that determines weaning weight more than anything else? And it's days of age. So the calf born at the first of the season has a 99% chance of being the biggest calf at weaning, just because he's older. So the more calves you can get born in that first 30 days of your breeding season, the better off you'll be. And if you got too many cows out there with that bull, he can only breed so many. And if it's a bigger area, he's going to have to cover some ground to do it. Then he's got to rest and eat sometimes. So he's going to miss 1 or 2, which, it makes you miss that cycle on the cow. And all of a sudden that's 18 more days before she's coming back in heat. So 12 months, like I said, that's usually our limit. If we're going to use a young bull, that's what we'll do, is put him out with 5 to 10 head just to get a sample breeding on him with some cows that we know what they should do. And once we put that bull out with him, we can see how he responds compared to other bulls that we bred to that same group of cows. So that's a good indication, just how many ever months old he is, that's how many cows he can breed. And the main thing if you only learn one thing tonight, the main thing you do is test your bulls every year. Just because he's having calves born right now, that means he was fertile 9 months ago. That does not mean he's fertile today. So it's a big expense for us, but we test every bull every year. And if that bull was leased out last year, then the next thing you need to do is get a trick test on him to make sure you're not bringing somebody else's problem. If he had trick in some of his cows and he caught, you don't want him out with your cows, and you don't want to sell him or lease him to somebody and take it to their herd. So that's the 2 things we do every year. We semen test every bull, make sure the testicles are still working, and especially on an older bull, they didn't get frostbit. I mean, that happens up here. They can get frost damage. I mean, they can get too cold. If you don't have them bedded down good, they can start getting some damage, and then they can't regulate their testicles and they become sterile. And then also trick testing them to make sure you don't have a sexually transmitted disease, and have that bull go out and he can infect every cow that he breeds. And then all of a sudden all the cows have trick, and then you have a big mess, and you either got to pay for it or you're not going to be friends with your neighbor anymore if you leased him a bull that had trick. So that's the 2 main things that you should do every year.
Say, Curtis, I see Curtis Oldies here. Curtis, you have a lot of experience with this too. You want to talk a little bit about how to evaluate herd bulls?
I would say on my Aberdeens, I'm probably not as experienced as you guys, but I kind of use the same, I guess you use the same logic. I've gotten burn on bulls that look nice and conditioned when you buy them. And I think it's kind of one of the things that David talked about is grow them slow for longevity. Sometimes we push these bulls a little bit too hard. You'll start seeing some feed issues is what I've came up with. We actually had one bull we had to take to K-State, and it was a total mess. The other thing you run into is those bulls that get pushed a little too hard. You also have problems with semen quality. Usually older bulls, you start having issues with, bent tails and sperm deformities. And we've had some 2-year-old bulls that we bought that that's what they came out with. And so those are just some big things to, I would say, pay attention to. Structure, I don't think you can, call too hard on structure, because that's something you're going to be living with for a long time. So I think it ultimately comes down to what you're looking for in a bull. I kind of look at everything as a piece. I got some cows that need this or that. So, sometimes, the cow will breed a certain way, and sometimes the bull will carry that. So it's just part of understanding, again, going back to what you guys were talking about, cow families and how they do. When looking at bulls, my big thing is I always try to look at the dam. If she's a good looking female, she's structurally sound, got a good udder. And if she's a cow I would like, then I would probably end up using that bull. But if I don't like the cow, then I certainly wouldn't be using the bull. So I guess that's my input.
It's funny, we talk about bulls, but we talk more on their mothers than we did on actually the bulls. But that's the most important thing that you should look at, because he's going to produce a bunch of daughters that's going to look just like his mother. So that's, like I said, that's really important to do. And that's the first thing we always do. Look at the cow, look at the bull's mother, see what kind of cow she is, or some of his, his siblings that are females, to make sure what they're going to do. And others visit on that any, but you want to get a messed up herd, find a bull that throws a split udder, and he'll throw it to every cow, every female he's got. You have got a wreck.
Yeah,
we know what they're looking at.
Yeah, my brothers ran some mains, and I remember going to visit, and I did all their herd work. And anyway, I'd ask them about some new cows they got, and they would say they're what their udders were like, because I've seen some of them, and they've changed a lot as a breed as well. But they said they were good for the breed, and I was like, that's not saying a whole lot. So it takes a long time to get those udders cleaned up, and when you start having big teats, and calves can't nurse, and that puts more work on you going out there to nurse them, and then they're getting dirty and muddy, and it's just one thing after another. So I don't think you can be too stringent on your selection practices when it comes to getting bulls or females. And also, I'd say if you're looking at whatever you're getting, try to buy from someone who's been in the same similar environment. Trying to grow my herd. I've had some cows that still look pretty good at 1.5 to 2 years after having them, but I've had a lot of issues with feed on some of those cattle just going out in my environment. So I would say that's something else to kind of take a look at.
So I'll give an example just real quick of a bull that we developed here, and his name's Texan. We've used him on cattle for at least eight years or so, and we weren't going to use him this year, so I let a friend of mine use him. He has this 800-acre pasture over here close to us, and he turned out 2 British white bulls, and then I carried my bull over there, Texan. And so we're going to be able to tell which bull did the most good. I guarantee you my bull is going to breed twice as many cows. There's going to be a lot more black calves over there than there's going to be the British white look, because those 2 colors are stamped their calves. You can tell. I got a bet with the guy. And my bull's 9 years old. He'll be 10 years old pretty soon, but he's still tough as he can be. He'll cover a lot of ground. He's gonna breed more cows than them other 2 bulls put together. So
And it's amazing when you, especially when you're doing the DNA testing, you can come up. We do it a lot of times. We have a big pasture, so we have to turn out a bigger group of cows to, and it's no cross fences. So you have 2, sometimes 3 herd sires out there. You're going to DNA them anyhow. And it's amazing to see one bull will breed 90% of the cows, and there'd be one bull in there that may only have 1 calf, if any. And you're like, what was he doing? But the ones that are aggressive will breed more cows and they'll get it done. The other bulls, sniffing flowers or something on the side. I don't know what he was doing, but he wasn't breeding any cows.
well, just like, some of them you just have a lot of confidence in. You've been using them a long time, and you know what they're going to do. Oh, pretty sure what's going to happen. Say, we did have a question, and it's on the thing here tonight to talk about EPDs. And when you're talking birth weight, weaning weight, yearling weight, EPDs, genomic enhancement, things like that. I don't know if anybody even knows what genomic enhancement is, how you can enhance your EPDs with genomics and a lot of these breeds. I don't guess we even have that, do we, David? We don't have that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I do.
Well,
I have it on mine. And the reason I do is the Simmental Association is the one that does a lot of that testing for a lot of different breeds. And they just happen to be in the next town over. So they're 40 minutes from me, and I visit with them. But we did a test herd years ago, 5 years ago, when they first started talking about EPDs. So we wanted to see what our bulls were. We knew our bulls were better than other people's, and we wanted to prove it by having a number on it. So we did I think it was 10 herd sires and all of our donor dams. We took and did high density genomic testing on them. And I don't know if it was 50K or what it was. It may be even more than that. But, and we had each one of those animals tested that way. And then also they give them a number because they didn't have a breed. So they had to kind of start from somewhere. So whatever year that animal was born, whatever the Angus, which is our closest natural relative, which is not really that close, they gave us that year as an average. And then tested the bull against the average. And the genomic enhancement is using that high density test along with its regular EPDs. And then every animal out of that offspring will go back and go against that herd sire. So first you have just his DNA test and his EPD, his average EPD year results, and then every calf that you submit to them will enhance that bull's EPD, and whether up or down, let's say it's on weaning weight, and if you get some with higher weaning weights, it's going to start influencing it up. If it starts getting a lower number, it's going to start influencing down. It's not going to directly, you get one that weighs 900 pounds because you cheated, it's not going to influence it a whole bunch, because a lot of those outliers, they'll kick out anyhow. But we have it on, like I said, we did that test pilot, and then we did a bunch of our yearling bulls because we already tested them anyhow. We already had to DNA test them. So it costs like $5 extra just to run that test on them and put some of that information back toward their sire. So we have some of that. I got a bunch of EPDs on cattle here. They always say, we don't have EPDs. Well, I do. So, and sometimes it helps because somebody won't, they will, well, we had EPDs in Angus. Do you have EPDs in Aberdeens? Well, yes, I do. And half the time they don't know how to read them, but they look at it and they say, well, he's got EPDs. He's bound to be good. Okay. I gave them to them. They didn't know how to read it, and I explained it to them, but I mean, some of them just want to know they have it. So it's another tool in the toolbox to sell a bull. If you can give them any more information, that really helps. And like I said, our main reason was, if yours is registered and mine's registered, they're equal. But I think mine's better because I got, ultrasound data on him. I got performance data on him. I got data on his sire, data on his cows, on his mothers. So all that information helps in selling the bulls. I think they're trying to do something with the not EPDs in general, but just getting some performance data and some whole herd reporting. I mean, people have heard me say that for years, and it's crazy, but they're trying to get it closer to doing it. So a lot of that information is going to be good to help sell your bulls. And if you just got your in herd, let's say it's an average in your own herd, and you have 20 calves and they rank them, well, the one that's first is pretty good. And then the one that's probably 19th and 20th, you should make that a steer. So, I mean, that's easy to do. And you can start keeping within your own herd, because it's your own environment, your own genetics. If that calf's not performing, chances are it's due something to do with his will to grow or his performance. It's not the environment, because he was in the same environment as everybody else. But you can start selecting out of that. And I tell everybody, don't select off the very top. You might want to select from the middle. And that's how you keep your herd consistent. You don't want to outlier every time to, sway your herd that much. So it's always good to pick from the meat of the herd, the heart of the herd, and let the fringes kind of go. We might keep a bull that grows really fast and does really good, but sometimes something else is wrong with him. He might grow really fast, but something else is wrong, and he don't make a herd sire anyhow. So, but you can use those numbers to help you make a decision. You shouldn't use a number to make the decision for you, because 9 times out of 10, your eye is your best indication of how to pick a herd bull. And those numbers can back it up to make you feel better about your decision.
So David, after all the years of, being in Aberdeen cattle, if people are looking for a herd sire, or they're thinking about buying one, they have their herd and they need a new bull, what do people need to do? Now, I'm going to say what they need to do first. I think is what they need to do is go to somebody that raises bulls, somebody that's been doing this a long time and has the knowledge of how to raise a bull and how to raise one the right way, where you can, I mean, these bulls are going to influence, that's the influence for your next several years on your calf crop. And it's half of your genetics a bull is half of what your calf crop is, half of your genetics. So I see all the time, and I'm not trying to tell people what to do, but you see them, I have a calf here that advertising it on the Aberdeen pages. They have a calf that is a male calf and would make somebody a good herd sire. Well, how do they know it's going to make a good herd sire? I mean, they just don't, is the thing. So what would you tell people they need to do, David?
Well, that right there is the scariest thing I see on Facebook. I see it all the time. I got a calf, and his daddy's real good and mama's real good, but they only got 3 cows and 1 bull. So it's the best bull they got. So it's better to do, like you said, you don't have to go to the biggest one or whatever, but if somebody's raising 4 or 5, you got something to look at and can differentiate between, hey, this one's really good and this one's really bad. I mean, then you can at least make a educated decision. But the more information you have, the better choice you can make, because it's half your genetics. And if you use him 2 to 3 years, you start compounding that number. So he better be really good, because, you're going to have a bunch of those calves that's going to be out of him. If you get one that's really sharp in the back end and doesn't have a whole lot of hind quarter, all of his calves are going to be just like him. And if you're selling beef, that's a lot of meat that you're cutting off of them. So go to a reputable breeder. Don't buy just somebody's calf out of their pasture. I mean, that's like shooting in the dark and hoping you in the right direction, because even though he looks good at weaning, that means he had a real good mother. And we have bulls like that all the time. They look excellent up until weaning. And as soon as you pull him off that mama and put him in a pen and make him do it himself, he just falls apart. Well, his mother was really good, a really good cow, and she raised him and took care of him, made him grow. But when he had to do it on his own, he couldn't do it. And that's one of my frustrating things. I see a good calf, and all of a sudden I put him in a pen and we start growing them out and they just fall apart. But, you know, he didn't have it. And it happens. You can get the best bull and the best cow, and it's not gonna, sometimes it just don't work. And that's called selection. And we try to select them out of our you know, breed, our bull battery, so we don't promote that genetics or promote that particular bull. He may have the best genetics in the world, but he just didn't do it on his own. So the more information you can get, you know, weaning weight, birth weight's really important. I got one bull that I bred some cows to him, and he should have been good, but he is not. He's starting to throw too big of calves, and he won't be a bull too much longer. I mean, and like you said, sometimes it takes years to find that out. He should have been smaller calving, but now that I bred him to 10 or 12 heifers, and we've had trouble out of 3 or 4 of them. So all of a sudden now, okay, he's not going to stay in my group because I can't have that, because that's too much. I have to answer too many questions. I have to apologize for something, and that's just not good. You shouldn't have to apologize for something you sold, because it should be, you know, true genetics. But it does creep up every now and then. So nothing the exact science, but the more information you have to make a decision on a bull, with all that background information, the better off you'll do. More predictable you can be.
So people like us have, I mean, for years, and we're not the only ones, but there wasn't anything to go by for a long time. I mean, the mistakes that you had to, I mean, you just had to make them because you had to experiment. But I think most of those experiments have been done now. People don't have to go do that anymore if they want to buy a good bull. There's places to go get them now. Finally, the last few years, there's people that have them that's already done all that stuff that you can do if you don't go get a good bull to start with. Lynn, what you got?
So the only thing that I want to add is, you know, if you're going to purchase the bull, you know, from the original breeder, okay, this is from the original breeder, and you're purchasing a young bull like a yearling, or, you know, something under the age of 2, ask to see the parents and the siblings and any grown siblings and their children, or their calves. You know, ask to see the cow family, ask to see, you know, his sire. You know, if the sire's been producing for a few years, you know, ask to see last year's calf crop. You know, that'll give you some sort of indication of the performance of the parents too. Because, you know, your best bulls are going to come from the best cow families, from the other best bulls on the place. So that's just another piece of information. And if they're not willing to show you those, start asking some questions. Start
walk away.
Or walk away, like run the other direction. Because I know that every time we have somebody come out, they're looking to purchase a bull that we haven't proven completely ourselves yet. He's not 3 or 4 or 5, 6 years old bull. You know, we're like, hey, you want to go take a look at the cows? You know, you want to go see his dam, his half siblings, his, you know, maybe he has a full sibling, you know, that's still on the place from the previous year or 2 years before. You know, we're like, hey, you know, let's go look at those so you can see what you're possibly getting yourself into. And if they're not willing to share that with you, then just don't. No matter how good the bull looks, just don't.
And always buy a bull and make sure he's semen tested before you pick him up, because I can count numerous people that have bought bulls and they said, yeah, that bull's good, and they didn't semen test it, and they lose the whole calf crop because the bull was sterile, or he had some functional problem that couldn't breed cows. He might breed them, but he wouldn't settle them. And there is no more terrible feeling than to have somebody preg checking your cow open. Your heart will sink, your gut will turn. It is the most excruciating thing you'll ever go through, is when you have to call that many cows open because you have lost your entire season. And 2 years from now, you don't have anything to sell. You won't have any steers to kill. You won't have any heifers to sell. You are just out of, I mean, it can be it can kill your program. And I mean, can make you financially, bankrupt quick by losing a calf crop. I mean, that's your main source of income. So if it costs $50 to semen check that bull, that is the best insurance you will ever make. We don't insure cattle anymore. We used to, but I think it's kind of a waste now. They don't want to cover anything anyhow. But if you want to buy insurance, semen check your bull before you buy him, and every year before you turn him out.
So David, Barb asks, what is the ideal birth weight for bull calves and heifer calves? I guess we're talking maybe full bloods. Not sure, but let's start with full bloods.
Everybody, I see people posting stuff, and I'm assuming they have scales when they say that. I had a 32-pound calf. A 32-pound calf in my environment is going to be dead. I had one born the other day that was 38 pounds, and it was out of an Angus cow that I bought, and I had to take care of it for 2 weeks inside the barn before I could even turn it outside, or it would die. So too small a calf is too small. Our average birth weight on our calf crop, our full blood calf crop, is 55 pounds. And that's a little higher than most folks, but the cows are a little bigger than most folks' full blood cows. And it's mainly because of our environment. They grow a little better. They have some high quality feed, so they get a little bigger, but 55 pounds is our average. We usually run between 48, and we have some that go up to 60 pounds sometimes, but those we start, putting a pretty serious, I don't know about that one. And in the moderators, you can have any range of, I've had full blood, half blood calves that was up to 90 pounds, but it was coming from the cow side. So our rule of thumb is anything that's born here over 80 pounds, we cut. No questions asked. Embryo calf, anything, planned matings. If it's over 80 pounds, we cut it because we don't want to have to explain to somebody why they get big calves. So our average moderators are probably, still have some that's probably 58 to right at 73, 74 pounds. That's our average, but most of our moderators are half Angus, half Aberdeen. If you use a different breed or a different, on the other side of the Aberdeen, whatever that family or that breed brings to the table, that's what it's going to influence it. And the best example I bought 10 bred Angus cows from, I even say the name because most people don't know them, Diamond Dots, one of the Stevensons, one of the largest Angus breeders in the country. It's right up the road here. Bred to low birth weight Angus bulls, and every one of them was over 90 pounds, and one of them was over 100. And we lost one of those. And I called the guy and told him, I said, man, I pulled half these things. I said, if you want a low birth weight Angus bull, I can show you what one looks like. But we bred those same cows to a full blood Aberdeen bull the next year, and it dropped them 20 pounds. The one that had over 100-pound calf had over an 80-pound calf the next year, bred to an Aberdeen bull. And the one that had an 80-pound calf, it dropped it to a 60-pound calf. So the Aberdeen is supposed to moderate the size of that calf. It should moderate the, eventual mature size, but it will eventually moderate the birth weight size too. So that one particular bull dropped it 20 pounds from what the average of that Angus group was. And that was still okay, I guess, but I'd already bought the cows. So now I had to do something with them. But you had to breed them to a low birth weight Aberdeen to even get a average size calf.
So the birth weight on the calves, your bull's only half of it. So the cow can have high birth weights too. And we pretty much think we've eliminated cows with high birth weights here. I know we haven't had any big calves in a long time. So what I'm trying to say is when you have a calf crop out here and you have one calf that's an outlier, I heard, that weighs 75, 80 pounds, but they're the same kind of cows and the same bull. Well, then it's probably the cow's fault. It's not the bull's fault. You're feeding them the same way. You're doing everything the same. So everybody wants to talk about, low birth weight bulls or bulls this, bulls that, and the birth weights for the calves. The cow's the other half of that deal. So you can, what we want here on our place is about a 48-pound full blood, about a 58 to 62 pound half blood when we're doing half bloods. And pretty much we got it down to that. I can almost, we've done so many, you can look at them and tell that it's pretty uniform across the board. When you're buying a bull, it is important to know what his birth weight was, but that's a better indication of what the birth weight of the calves are going to be than what the birth of calves were at somebody else's ranch. Like they used his full brother somewhere and he had high birth, the calves were too big. That could have been the cows. Didn't have to be the bull. But anyway, you want to talk about that some more, David?
Yeah, it's what we always said. I've had Angus, I've had all different stuff over the years, but what I normally try to explain to somebody what a high birth weight and a low birth weight is directly related to people too. Just add a zero. So whatever a normal birth weight of a human, a baby, is about 6 to 7 pounds. So a normal birth weight of some commercial cows or moderators is going to be 60 to 70 pounds. You can have an 8-pound baby and they're big and healthy and strong, and you can have an 80-pound calf and be okay. But you start getting a 9 to a 10-pound baby in people, you start having complications. You might have to do a C-section. You may have to do something else. You use force to get them out. You're going to have 80 to 90 to 100-pound calves. You're going to have the same problem. It works the same way on the smaller end. A 5-pound baby, okay, it's just small, but he's going to be all right. And that's a 50-pound. You start getting a 4-pound baby or a 3-pound baby, they're going to start having lung issues, had to be in NICU. They had to, do some extraordinary things to get those babies to live. Or if you have a 30-pound baby, you're going to have to do something. You ain't going to just leave him out there. He doesn't have any fat on him. He's probably going to be smaller, probably premature a little bit. Maybe something happened that she made her have it a little early, but that calf's going to need some help. So when I tell you, if I have a 30-pound calf, it's a big deal because it's either dead or I'm doing extraordinary things to try to keep it alive. And I seen that 38-pounder. He's in the next. We had him inside the barn, then outside in a little pen. And I turned him out with a group of cows, his cabin, and he was running with the rest of them today. And I was like, well, I think he's finally, he's 3 weeks old. He's acting like a newborn calf. So you better do something or you're going to have problems. And up here, it can be mighty cold. And if they're born at 30 pounds and not a lot of fat on them or not very healthy, they're going to be dead if you don't do something extraordinary to help him live. And we do a lot of stuff to make them live, and we do it once. We want it to live and make it to weaning so we can sell it, but we're not going to duplicate that again and have to do the same thing over next year the same way. We're going to fix that problem. Either we're going to sell the cow or don't breed them that way again to make sure they're not, that small, or whatever feed regiment you need to do to make that calf be a certain size, 50 to 60 pounds. You'll never have any problems. And we have a couple of full blood cows that we couldn't register that we started using them as receps. And they even had Angus calves on them. And they'd have a 65, 70-pound calf and never even blinked. But I mean, you want to make sure you understand that and know what you're putting in them so you don't have a problem. But the cows can have a bigger calf, but it doesn't necessarily mean you want to make it, make them have to do it every year like that.
So I think that's about it for today. Is there any questions? Anybody want to ask us anything? David can answer any questions you have. Or maybe Lynn can too.
Yeah, I was going to say Lynn does pretty good. She answers it in a lot shorter time frame. I talk too much.
Well, something I'll add to what David was saying is when it comes to those birth weights, there's a lot of management that goes into that as well. So, how hard you're feeding those cows before they calve, temperatures, and different things like that. I usually calve out on pasture, and I know when I was running the same cows as my brothers, I'd run about 20 pounds lighter on birth weight because I was on pasture and they were feeding theirs at a feed bunk. So there's a lot of different variables. And when you're looking at those, I would say you need to kind of take a look at how the management is. And again, going back to, it's kind of hard to compare one herd to another one unless they're managing in the same way. So keep those things in mind.
Yeah, one thing about that is too, I see a lot of people on the Facebook pages and stuff that their cows have calves in a stall. And I'm not gonna say there's anything wrong with that, but I just don't believe in it. I think a cow needs to, first thing a cow does when they start to have a calf or start to have contractions is they start walking. They walk and walk and walk, and as the contractions get more, they lay down and they get up, and that calf's getting in the right position for the cow to have the calf. And what we do around here is, we see one off by herself and maybe watch her a minute, and she may just take off another direction from where the herd is. But we know she's going to have a calf. We just go the other way. We don't bother her at all. That's probably the wrong thing to do. We probably should, but really, I think we have better luck like that than trying to worry with it, because those cows know more about having a calf than we do. And I know you can get a leg back and you can get all these things that could happen, but if you leave the cow alone, let her do her thing and just don't bother her, especially not a heifer, but an experienced cow, their second calf at least, they're usually trying to get that calf in place where it can get out of there easy.
And that's true. And like I said, we kind of do similar to that. We calve them in a smaller pen, but it's 5 acres. So that cow can still move around, get by herself, get up and down. And she'll get up and down. And you think, wow, she's not even trying. No, she gets up and lays down, and she knows right quick that calf ain't in the right position. She'll get up, spin around, do something, turn back around, lay on the other side, trying to push that calf and make it get in the right position. And I've missed it one time this year, and I'm kicking myself when I did it. But I seen a cow that she started having a calf, but she had funny looking contractions. And I should have remembered it from about 10 years ago. I had a cow do the same thing. And that cow was just having the weirdest contractions, but she never would get the calf out. And I watched her for about 10 or 15 minutes do that. And I finally got her up, and it was coming head first. So she couldn't get it flipped around in the right position. And I was kicking myself for waiting too long, because I've seen it do it one other time when I had this really good cow with really good genetics, and I had 2 of them, and one of them was dead because she was doing that, and I didn't know what she was doing. But when I went to pull it, the mouth was coming. His mouth was open, and the bottom jaw was catching on the pelvic, and that's as far as she could push it. And she was just acting a fool. I mean, just totally out of character of this cow and all the other cows. And I should have remembered it from that one. But you can see them when they start doing something really odd, it's because they can't get it in position. And that calf, the first one, it broke his bottom jaw. When I reached in to try to turn it, first thing it did, teeth come off in my hand. But she was pushing so hard, but it was caught on that pelvis. But we could have a 10-hour discussion about all the ways calves have come wrong and how you had to pull them here, but we don't want to get into that one. But just watch your cows. But like you said, if you can let them out and do their own thing. And the other thing I see on Facebook all the time is, look at my great calf. And the first thing you see is a picture with his head in a bucket eating. Well, I don't have that many buckets on my place because I don't feed any cows, and try not to, because if I can't grow it, they're not eating it. And it's just trying to save money. I mean, that's the best way. You got a lot of grass, we're going to use it. But if you're taking a picture of your bull to sell or whatever, don't take his picture with his head in a feed bucket. That's a definite turn off for me right off the bat.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Lynn, what are we doing next week or next 2 weeks, 2 weeks from now?
2 weeks from now, we're going to be discussing how to evaluate semen sires. So picking good semen sire can be a little bit different from picking a good herd sire. So
Yeah, I think it's a lot different. And then the next meeting will be about artificial insemination.
yes, and I'm trying to get in contact with our AI tech to see if she'll come on and give us some insider information into how to improve your one, how to improve working with your tech, and then also information about artificial insemination protocols and storage, semen, frozen cane handling, that sort of thing. So going to try and get her to come and help us out with that particular discussion.
That'd be great. When Lynn said protocols, what she means is a series of shots, and it's timed AI. You give these shots to the cows, and then they're all ready at the same time for a tech to come out and AI all the cows. And
yeah, there's different protocols for cows and different protocols for heifers, and there's protocols that don't use as many drugs. There's protocols that use cedars, some don't. So there's it really just depends on the preferences of your tech and what their experiences have been, and then how your cows respond to the different protocols. So,
does anybody else have any questions or anything that you want us to talk about?
Is anybody still awake?
Hey guys, I'd like to say, David, I watch your video probably about 4 or 5 times a year off your website, and I appreciate that because sometimes I forget even how to tie a calf out in the field when I tag and tattoo. so that's a good reminder. If you would comment on some of the things that you do for a newborn calf, as far as the, you showed in the video also, but that's just, I think that's very good what you do there.
Yep. Well, we give certain shots up here because of our environment. And a lot of people don't give shots at birth and this and that. But if we don't give shots at birth up here in this area, in this part of Montana, the calf would be dead by the time it's a month old. Because we have certain, it's the spores, I guess is what it is, from Clostridial, which is blackleg. So we have to treat pretty hard for that. It's called overeating disease. It's two of the, usually get an 8-way Clostridial that you see in the store sometimes. These two are C and D, and it's called overeating disease, and it's real prevalent in this area up here. And if we don't treat those calves, some of them, and I talked to one girl that they had it in 2 to 3 days, it starts showing up. And it's from that calf eating so much. They say he has a good mother and he eats a big dose of milk, drinks a big dose of milk, and it sits on his stomach. It can start sloughing, some of the lining of his stomach starts sloughing off, and that calf would be dead in less than 12 hours. So the main thing is to give any shots. If you need to give shots, is find out what's in your area, probably from your vet, probably from your neighbor that's been raising cows for years. If he says it's important, that's probably what you should think about too. And it's no need to give a bunch of shots if you don't need to. And like I said, in our area, if you don't give the shots, if you miss one, you can find it. It'll be dead in a month because you didn't vaccinate it. So only give the shots that you must give or need to give. But if you need to give them, you better give them, because it's nothing more frustrating. It always happens to the fastest growing, most productive calf in your calf crop. That'll be the first one that's dead, because the faster ones, the one that's growing the fastest, is going to happen to them first. So I can tell you that from experience.
Very good.
So what part of the other thing that I'd like to say on that deal is, in your area, talk to your veterinarian, see what they say. Other ranchers around that's been doing it a long time, they're going to know if there's anything in your area that you really need to be watching for. Here, as far as the calf goes, we usually don't even vaccinate calves or anything until till they've all had their calves. Then we bring the cows in and the calves and vaccinate all the calves and worm the cows and do everything we need to do all at one time. But
Yeah, most of the time
it's
it's 2 months old is about the time we pull everything in and go ahead and tag, vaccinate, all that stuff.
anything else?
Appreciate it, guys.
My system was cut out when you were starting to talk about some of the data, so I'm not sure if you covered this or not. But as a yearling, what would you consider average carcass data?
Average carcass data? Well, I can tell you what
On
my
a full-
average, what our average is, but I don't think that's average for the breed. I don't think. I hope it's not, or I've been wasting a lot of time trying to improve mine. First off, our yearling weights on our bulls, like I said, we're probably, see, the lowest one was 652 and the highest one was 754. So that was their yearling weights. And like I said, we was pushing those cattle to gain right at 2 pounds a day. Their average ribeye area was, I didn't have the averages here, but it's going to be right at 9. So that 650 to 9.95 ribeye area is 1.53 ribeye per hundredweight. And you read the website, it says they have a lot better ribeye per hundredweight than other breeds, and that's going to be really good. Most Angus is going to be 1.1 to 1.2. So mine right here, the lowest one is 1.23 and the highest one is 1.60 ribeye per hundredweight. So those calves are doing some really good gaining and got, really good carcass. Their back fat was averaging between 10 hundredths and 18 hundredths of an inch. So to me, that tells me those calves were growing. They have minimal back fat. So what we try to do is keep everything under 0.2 of a back fat at that age. And when we kill them, we try to have 2.5, 25 hundredths to 0.3 back fat. Any more than that, they're going to trim it off and put it in a bag by itself. So you want to get it optimum. And then the IMF on these, the lowest one was 384, which is almost choice. And the highest one in these bulls was 481. And on the ultrasound scale, 4.0 is choice. So what this bull did, he weighed 750 something pounds, had a 9.7 ribeye area, 1.37 ribeye per hundredweight, 1600s back fat, with a 4.81 IMF, which is choice, at a year old. So if that bull will do that at a year old, growing slow, then his calves should do the same thing. And if you're going to process them at 18 months, you can just start figuring up the weights for that. And he's already choice. So, like I said, averaging in my herd is going to be different than other people's, or they can just tell you, oh yeah, mine's that good too. when somebody says that, that's when you ought to walk away. If they don't have the data, you shouldn't say. I ain't gonna say who said it, but I had a bunch of mine. I told them what they graded I paid a grader to go to the packing house to grade them. And mine was, had 20 head, and I think 15 of them graded choice, and the other 2 were high select, right there. So yeah, my cattle were good too. My process, I said, you got them graded? He said, well, no, he didn't grade them, but he said that's about what they look like. So I paid $5 a head to get mine graded, and he just said, his butcher said, yeah, they look pretty good. So he just said, yeah, they were choice. So always question your the information when they give it to you. How did you take it? Said, well, mine was born 50 pounds. Did you weigh them? Well, no, I didn't weigh them, but that's what I think they weigh. That's what they look like. Well, why do my shoulders hurt? Because I picked up 200 calves and weighed every one of them. So I know exactly what they weigh. And sometimes I don't want to know. Sometimes I had a couple out of some cows I bought. I quit looking when it went to 94. I said, that's enough. I just threw it back down and cut it right there. I said, I ain't gonna hurt my shoulder by trying to pick it all the way up off the ground. 94 pounds was big enough for my culling decision. I just went ahead and cut it and kept going.
What's the old saying?
Up, you muted, Larry.
Can you hear me?
Now I can, yeah.
So don't believe much of what you hear and only half of what you see.
That's what my daddy always said. He said, don't believe nothing you hear and half what you see. That's exactly right.
Thank you.
So I want to say one more thing about when you start talking about marbling, that there's a real high correlation with age and how the animal was treated for a lot of years, or not a lot of years, but for a long time. David's getting his to choice in 17, 18, 19 months. Ours down here, just our management situation, it's about 2 years before we start really seeing a lot of choice carcasses. So we just keep doing what we're doing because it works. But if they were pushed a little harder, planted some better grass for them to eat, throughout the whole year, then we could get them there faster too. But we don't do that. I guess there's way too many things to do. I can make all the excuses we want to, just what we do.
And it's environment too. I mean, you get hotter a lot sooner down there, and heat is one of the things that is hard on a cow to marble, because when they're respirating like that and breathing and their body temperature is up, it's hard to deposit that fat there. So I don't have to worry about heat up here, Larry. It's cold all year round, so we don't have any trouble depositing fat.
Well, you have to worry about the cold weather, and you got to have cattle that can work in the cold weather. We got to have cattle here that slick off in a hurry. I mean, we've been pretty cool this spring for our normal years, but expect it to be 110 here in July and August when it's cool in the spring like this. But the cattle that we use here, we just developed them over the years and years and years. I'm not saying they don't stress, because they do, but they get by just fine. You really don't have a lot of trouble with them.
And it's easier to go north for cattle to be born in the south and go north than it is for cattle in the north to go south. I mean, that's historically, we did it for years, environmental by, what was it? Genetic by environmental interaction. That was the first study I had to work on. We moved cattle every year in the fall from north to south and south to north to see how they responded. And those cattle never could slick off as good. And the ones that come from the south could go to the north. And when it got cold, they could grow hair. But when it got hot, they knew how to shed and get it off too. So that's real important too. And there are certain bulls that are that way. I have a couple bulls here that slick off better than others. And those bulls have been able to, sire calves in the south and do all right. But if somebody's in the south and wanting to buy semen on certain bulls, I'll tell them, don't buy it from this bull, because he's got too much hair, he's going to be hairier, and it's going to be harder for him to slick off. So that's another decision when you're making a bull to make sure he's going to function in your environment.
We brought a lot of cows down from north, from North Dakota, South Dakota, Montana. They've come here, and sometimes they didn't do real good first year or two, but their calf always, like it was acclimated, like it was when it was born here, seemed to be just fine, and all the offspring from it seemed to be just fine. I can't really explain that. I can't tell you why it's that way, but it just, that environmental influence, I guess. I look at a lot of different things as environmental.
That's right. And if you're going to move cattle, it's usually better to do it in the fall.
It really is. Yep.
So that's just a tidbit. We'll throw that in there for free.
Yeah. Well, anyway, if there's any more questions, we'd be glad to try to talk about them. Whether we know it or not, know the answer or not, but we'll talk about it. And Lynn, you got anything else? She's shaking her head. You need to come home.
I got stuff to do.
You need to come home. This is too stressful for me.
Oh, you're just fine. You're
Trying
doing
to work
okay.
by myself.
Oh man, it's just struggle.
Yeah, it was. I had to go to Selborne today, get away from it all.
That's your relaxing space. All right.
Nothing else. I guess this will end here, and then next week we'll be talking about semen, buying it, storing it, all this kind of things, and then artificial insemination the next meeting after that. And it looks like there's only like 10 people still on, so we talked too long.
Yeah, well, that's the case. I'm guilty.
Not David.
All right. Well, y'all have a good night.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.